Okay, everyone, welcome to an episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. To have a really cool little feature for you guys. We're going to be showcasing this new watch case from DailyWatch, and a little bit about them. They're one of the largest wristwatch social media channels with over 2.5 million followers on Instagram alone. And in terms of the product here, this is really something cool. And the nice thing is, I believe that my discount code still works for them. So if you want to put in code Average Bros, you get an extra 5% off of their current sale pricing. Whatever that, I think it's right now, everything's 10% off. So this is their Hexagon navy blue 4-slot watch box. It goes for $182 currently on the sale. I believe it normally is $203 or about $172 after the additional discount if you want to use that. Now, I do like these. This isn't my first time I've reviewed one of these, but this is the first time I've reviewed it in the 4-slot capacity. And I chose 4 really interesting Seikos. All JDM and all neo vintage. So these are in between late 90s, early 2000s, and of course all pretty much exclusively for the Japanese domestic market. Most of them in titanium, one of them in steel, and that being the Grand Seiko with that gorgeous textured dial. So I figured, there's only so much we can get into for a watch box. So why not showcase also some fun watches while we talk about the type of storage and what it's good for. So with all that said, a big, huge shout out to DailyWatch for sending this case in. Very helpful for the channel. And then again, it gives me another excuse to curate 4 awesome watches and talk to you about them. So with that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get these pieces in hand, and take a closer look. Okay, guys, now in terms of the setup here, this is their blue on blue colorway. So navy blue interior, navy blue exterior, and check out the exterior. Here's something that's gonna set this apart from something you would find, on the more generic side. It's going to be the quality. Look at the texture on that leather. That pebble tone to it is really beautiful. I love how deep it feels. Very, very luxurious, almost kind of football-like grain there. And then you do have very nice stitching, very solid. Again, you're going to find stuff that's going to look like this, but not feel like this. And if you find it for cheaper, there's a reason. It's because the way that the construction, right, the stuff you can't see is going to be the difference maker here. And if you're somebody who wants to have some way to securely store your watches, this is a really great option, because not only does it work for storage at home, right? It also works for storage abroad. You can take this, you can travel with it, you can bring it to a watch gathering, and look, when you open it, you have a built-in work mat, which I think is very cool. You're going to have these M-shaped pillows, as you can see there. So even though my wrists are about 19 centimeters or 7.5 inches, you can see there no compression. But if you had a smaller wrist, you could add some compression. And the nice thing is you have plenty of room if you have a larger wrist, where you're going to be able to let that bracelet hang a little bit. So not too shabby. You can see the slots and slides. Everything is very, very secure, very plush on the interior. Now, in terms of some of the basics here, you're going to have, we'll get it. I think we might have already put it across the screen in terms of the dimensions, and I think it's a very nice median balance in terms of dimension. So really, it's just a great mix between kind of a watch roll and a watch box, kind of combining the best of both with just that 4 slots. Once you start getting into larger ones, which I have, right, like the 8-slotted ones, stuff like that, the larger slots where there's more of them, it gets a bit heavy for something that is going to be made out of fabric and leather. I will say at this size range, it's a nice sweet spot. It's not going to be too overbearing or anything like that. And again, it's going to be very nice and balanced overall. I do like the larger ones, but I will say something like this makes you more prone to travel with it, right? So me, I'm in Oceanside, California. I got my local SD chrono group meetups, you know, from Instagram. This is the type of thing you're going to want to bring with you because it's nice and tidy, nice, and even with 4 watches in it, it's not going to be too heavy. You take it in, you have dinner, you flop this out, you get pieces out, you lay them out, boom, bam, and you know, it's very, very nice. Now, speaking of the watches, some of you have been waiting. Check it out. We'll start with this Seiko. It's a JDM Brights model, the SAGL003. And man, titanium construction, 38 millimeter diameter, 13 millimeters thick, 46 millimeters lug to lug, 20 millimeter lugs that are drilled. Guys, dual curved sapphire with anti-reflective coating, 10 bar of water resistance, which is 100 meters. Beautiful Seiko caliber 8L21, which is a no date movement. And you can see this does have a gorgeous enamel dial. This is what they meant when they say an undecorated kind of version of the 9S. That is literally old school undecorated. The more modern 8L movements of today are going to be a lot more decorated in terms of having some perlage and whatnot. Not going to be the case here. No Tokyo striping. Very much, a very industrial finish. From that perspective, but still very, very clean, very impressive. And this thing wears like a dream, of course, with that titanium construction. And interestingly enough, a full buckle with micro adjust there. So this is just, oof. This is one of my favorites here, guys. I love this watch. I don't wear it enough. I mean, I love that it kind of hits that, kind of military piloty field type of watch, while also feeling quite kind of adventure explorer-esque, while also being quite unique in terms of that Nautilus-like case shape. So a lot to like. A very advanced bracelet, as you guys can see here. Not just a simple 3-link setup. Look at the intermediates in between. This was really Seiko flexing back in the early 2000s, kind of showing what they could do back when, Grand Seiko, when it was first being revived and it wasn't the powerhouse that it is today. So a Brightz model like this was really Seiko's kind of tour de force in terms of that ultimate flex of, hey, look at all of what we can do, in terms of the heights of our power. And I will say this is a very impressive piece that I really, truly enjoy. Now, moving on to another piece, another kind of rare one. Check it out, guys. We have that JDM Seiko Scuba SCVF003. And some of you are saying, whoa, that's kind of like alpinist-like. And yeah, you're right, it is. It is actually quite alpinist-like, and it is a kind of sister watch to that old school high beat alpinist that had this similar 4S15 movement. So this has the 4S15 movement. It also has a monoblock case. So for those of you that are like a Marine Master has to have these things and all, it's so unique. Well, look at that monoblock case there. 40 millimeters in diameter, 12.6 millimeters thick, 46 millimeters lug to lug, 60 click bezel, and actually really nice action, especially for a titanium watch, which typically can be a bit of an issue. You're also going to get, of course, 19 millimeter lugs that are drilled. And then dual curved Hardlex in this case. This is back in the day when for their divers, they were really big on Hardlex, but you can see still absolutely flawless and gorgeous. And then divers 200 meters, water resistant, which is ISO compliant. And like I mentioned, this 4S15 movement, 40-hour power reserve, 4 hertz sweep. Something about all these that they have in common is these are all 4 hertz sweeping watches. look at the all brushed bracelet. It does have hollow end links. And then it has a very cool kind of experimental, this is pre-Marine Master 300. It has a friction pull diver's extension. Check that out. Very, very cool. Of course, the bracelet itself isn't anything to write home about, but it just goes to show really how innovative they were being at the time. Again, full titanium construction. We'll get it on the wrist here, guys. This is another one quite rare, but I think would do quite well in today's market just because of how desirable titanium watches are these days, especially something with this kind of gilt over champagne dial. It's quite unique. Again, the cathedral hands, the relatively alpinist inspired dial. They're very, very cool. I mean, this watch back in its day even had kind of spin-offs from Seiko. This watch has kind of been revived here and there in other iterations, typically in a quartz, but this is going to be, again, that awesome 4S movement, which is actually inspired by, King Seiko movement architecture of the past. So very, very nice piece. And again, just something different you don't typically see, but it is a fun one and I love it very, very much. Just so unique, so different. And at the same time, if you were to tell me that Seiko released a 40 millimeter dive watch with a 4 hertz sweeping movement, people would be loving that. They would say, make it a Grand Seiko. And this has a lot of very cool, very unique features that make it quite special. Let me give it a quick little wipe here because there are some high polished accents there on the sides of the case. Of course, this is a much older watch. So in terms of the condition there, it's going to be one of those things where, it's taken a licking over time, but I think it's aged quite gracefully. Now, here we go. Some of you recognize this, not knowing what it is, but it looks familiar. Maybe you read the dial, Seiko Flightmaster. Yes, the original Flighty. Now, this is, of course, an automatic, fully mechanical chronograph, column wheel. This is the JDM Prospex Flightmaster SBDS001. And it is a technical tour de force, guys. Titanium with a hard coating, 42.5 millimeters in diameter, 14.8 millimeters thick, and you can see it's quite thick, but they do compartmentalize that thickness by having a clear delineation between the mid case, between the case back, between that proud bezel. Now, the bezel is 120 clicks, and it is very tactile and bidirectional, as you would expect for a pilot's watch. Ooh. Very nice. 48.5 millimeters lug to lug, not too shabby. 120 click, bidirectional bezel, 20 millimeter lug width. Very nice. Doesn't have drilled lugs like some of the other models featured here, but I think it's okay because it is really, again, quite special. Beautiful engagement there. Really beautifully done. Dual curve sapphire with anti-reflective coating, 10 bar or 100 meters of water resistance, and it does have screw down crown, screw down pushers. When the pushers are screwed down, it's actually making them able to be used. If you wanted to lock this in terms of the pushers, you actually unscrew them, and then it will prevent you from pushing these down. So very unique that you would kind of do the reverse of what you might think in terms of locking down the pushers. When it's like that, that's when they're actually locked down. So if you were going to go diving or something like that, that would be the play. Of course, screw down crown. And then again, you don't want to use these pushers typically underwater. You do have a great power reserve indicator. This dial is fabulously black. I mean, look at, it's like near Vanta black. I don't know what treatment they did to this, but that dial is pure. It is absolutely, again, technical tour de force. This thing is just Seiko flexing their chops, and I love it. Of course, it does have that kind of similar era of kind of Breitling styling, but of course, it goes with the theme with aviation. This was meant to really compete with those models, and you can see it even has a display case back. Look at that movement. Really, again, you can even see that beautiful column wheel there. Very cool. Oh man, this one is one I should wear more. It's that good. Let me get it on wrist. It is a little bit larger, guys, but it's supposed to be. This is a watch that has a lot of information on it, and rightfully so. It is very, very capable, very handsome, and it just holds up to this day. I was very fortunate to be able to get a model that had enough links in it to comfortably fit on my wrist. I will say with a larger wrist, a lot of these JDM models, typically people lost links along the way, or they may have even just not come with a lot of extra links because they were Japanese domestic market only watches for the longest time. So again, very fortunate from that standpoint. I love this piece. Of course, the modern solar or quartz Flightmasters are going to be typically what all the collectors rave about, but then you have low-key models like this that are quite collectible, quite rare, and of course full of history, and I love that. Now, kind of the ultimate finisher here, guys, a Grand Seiko. For me, one of the grandest of the grand from the timeline here, guys. This is a long time grail, and I had to search for this. I gave up, and then I was able to secure one thanks to the friends at Belmont Watches in San Diego. This thing is special. It is the Grand Seiko, of course, a JDM model before they were really an international powerhouse, from their sport collection, the SBGR017. Stainless steel construction. The other ones were all titanium we looked at today. This has some genuine heft to it. 39 millimeter diameter, 13.3 millimeters thick. Screw down crown, guys. 200 meters of water resistance. Fantastic. 20 bar. Ooh. Only 45.6 millimeters lug to lug, which makes it very wearable. This is very alpinist-like in terms of its wear profile, but it screams Japan. So for me, this is kind of their best, Rolex Explorer 1 alternative that they've made. Screw down crown, 200 meters of water resistance. Absolutely gorgeous. 39 millimeter diameter, 19 millimeter lug width, drilled lugs, very sporty. This bracelet, guys, people complain about Grand Seiko bracelets being not being up to par with their case architecture, with the level of attention to detail in their dial work. And I have to say, this is not the case. This was, again, in those earlier years, more formative years for the brand when they were reinvigorating the namesake and the badge there. So they really wanted to show their skills. This bracelet, I mean, these links break down into, I want to say, 7 or 8 individual pieces, sleeves, tubes, screws, little nuts there, just with multiple finishes, with beautiful bevels. My goodness, let me give it a quick little wipe here because, of course, my fingerprints are tainting the glory that is Grand Seiko. Look at that. Screw pin construction, beautifully milled, beautifully signed. This is, oh, I love a good dive watch, guys, but this is just a great watch in general. Look at that. Magnificent automatic Grand Seiko caliber 9S55. 50-hour power reserve, so not like the modern 9S movements where you're going to get that 3-day power reserve, but just over 2 days at 50 hours. Not bad. Of course, beautiful sweep there. Those fantastic hands that Seiko's known for. Faceted, polished highly. Look at the dial. Then look at the numerals. The font choice, it's just gorgeous with the 12 and the 6. It all comes together. And I love stuff like this. So, you know, I see videos sometimes where, you know, YouTubers will come along and say, hey, you know, these are some rare or kind of offbeat Seikos that you guys need to check out, take the time for. I will say this would be kind of my pick for, you know, some neo vintage high value pieces that you can get a lot of bang per buck and actually be quite secure with the way that they're going to retain their value. And of course, when you have watches that you want to take care of, putting them in the right storage definitely comes into play. So for closing thoughts, guys, really well designed and a lot more solid feeling than your typical kind of Amazon kind of no-name brands, or, you know, just the brands that kind of come and go type of setup. This is quality of a higher grade, and I wanted to showcase watches of a very high quality as well. So yes, it is definitely more expensive, right? Even at the kind of discounted pricing of $172, there are things that will cost way more, right? But there will be some that may have a similar outlook or similar design that will cost less. But I will say this is something that is built to a noticeably higher quality, and I think they are definitely worth the asking price due to their thoughtful designs and the commensurate build quality. It's not just a good design that they made as cheap and accessible as possible. It is a good design they built to suit and, again, just protect and serve your watch collection. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. What do you think about these watches? Of course, there are full reviews of each one of them in my channel history. If you are interested, definitely feel free to check them out. But with that said, let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you like the video, please do like, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.